Hey everyone, welcome back to Money with Joe. In today's video, we're going to be going over the 2021 housing market and how things like the stock market and the average household income in relations to the affordability of houses are going to be affecting the market and what kind of change we're going to see in the next following years. And for the viewers that are returning, yes, I did upgrade my microphone. Instead of using these handheld microphones, I'm using this arm so you guys can hear me a little more clearly. I'm constantly looking at ways to upgrade my quality of content for your viewing pleasure. And for the first topic, I did want to discuss the affordability versus the actual home prices and how these continue to get further and further away from each other as the demand continues to rise in real estate. So we definitely need to see an increase in the household incomes for the stability to stay as it is right now in the market. That's why we're seeing Joe Biden and many politicians push for higher minimum wage and higher wages overall. And then I will quickly give a real-world example of how competitive this real estate market is, at least in Arizona. I'm working with a buyer who has 3 children, so they absolutely need a 4-bedroom house. We found a house listed at $350,000, and it's appropriately priced at that price. With the baseboards, they were actually ripped off. The walls had a lot of dings from furniture being moved in. So this house was appropriately priced at $350,000, mind you. My buyers decided to back off from it since it needed a lot of work, and the seller was selling it as is. I actually just checked it, and within 4 days, the bidding process that they're using online, it's up to $420,000, which means if the appraisal comes in lower, which it'll probably come in around $350,000, the buyers will have to make up the rest of that money by themselves because the lender won't lend them any more of that money. And that's just one of the many examples of the houses and clients that I've worked with. A lot of these houses are going $40,000, $60,000 above asking price, and the buyers are willing to take the hit if the appraisal comes in lower. Before we say, oh, why don't you just go into a brand new home builder and have a house built in 6 months? That market is actually extremely overflooded as well, with a lot of the new home builders doing what's called a lottery drawing, which is exactly what it sounds like. You have a bowl with a bunch of names in them, and you pick them out with about 70 to 100 people in that drawing. So it's a very low chance that you can actually build a house in a new community. And for the next topic, I wanted to talk about the stock market and how it's historically had an impact on real estate market values in the past. In between takes here, I did realize that one of my studio lights was out, so I finally got that turned on. Hopefully it looks a little better. Anyways, moving on. A good amount of Americans use their stock portfolio and retirement funds such as Roth IRAs to be able to afford the down payment on a house. If you have a Roth IRA, you can actually take out the funds in there penalty-free and use it towards a down payment on a house. Many stock accounts like this will suffer in the event of a stock market crash, and we'll see that pour into the real estate market as well. We saw something very similar to this back in 2008. Both the real estate market and stock market crashed simultaneously. However, the real estate market recovered a lot slower and took about a decade to fully recover. And the reason we've seen a lot less new build homes popping up is because of the labor costs and material costs have been skyrocketing, and the profit margins for them have been getting lower. And as we continue to see Americans fall behind on car payments, rental payments, and mortgage payments, and with almost $70 billion behind on back rent, there's no surprise why people think there is a real estate crash soon to happen. So the question remains, are we in a bubble that's soon to pop? I'm going to give you my personal take on the situation as an active real estate agent in Arizona. And as my idol on YouTube, Meet Kevin, always says, don't sue me, bro. This is my personal take. So first, I wanted to start off with this very interesting 2021 housing forecast from Realtor.com. A lot of these I do agree with, except for a couple of them that I'll point out when I get there. The first one, they do say that we will see a home price hit the new highs, increase of about 4.7%, which could be even higher. We're not sure yet. And here they're stating that the real estate market will act how it normally does when it'll slow down in the fall and winter time as the holidays come around. Actually, in 2020, we didn't see any sort of slowing down because the interest rates were still low. People were still trying to hop in at the lowest point in the market, so that never slowed down. For the guess of the home sales going up by about 7%, this could be accurate. We'll just have to see how the supply is in the market. Currently, we are very low on supply and only have about 1.5 months of supply. Now, this is where my opinion differs from this forecast. They're saying by the end of the year, we'll see the interest rates go up to 3.4%. We're seeing both Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, and Joe Biden fighting for lower interest rates than the 2.7% that we're averagely seeing right now. So I think it's going to stay at least where it is by the end of the year, but we'll see how that goes. And here they're stating that a lot more millennials are moving into their first houses, getting bigger houses because they have more children. And not only that, but we are seeing the biggest transfer of wealth in history. And now for my personal take on this situation, I'll start by saying this. It's important to remember what drives your real estate prices, and that's supply and demand, and it will always be that way. The biggest reason we've seen this immense increase in real estate prices is because the huge demand to get a house right now at a low interest rate, and there's no supply to meet it. Lots of people are expecting a huge flip in the real estate market because of the looming foreclosure crisis with almost $70 billion behind on back rent and the sheer amount of people that had taken forbearance on their loans. With these two driving factors in the market, people are suspecting there to be a crash like we saw in 2008, except it's not for the same reasons. As many know, the reason we saw the crash happen in 2008 was because of these loan programs handing out loans to unqualified buyers, which eventually led to the torrential downfall of the real estate market. Except this time around, we're seeing mortgage bankers being very careful who they lend to and making sure 100% that they can pay back the loan. However, we've seen a very similar and unreasonable growth in real estate values within 2020 and 2021. So when should we expect to see a correction or a crash, if any? With politicians like Joe Biden and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen both fighting continuously for lower interest rates throughout 2021, I personally don't think we're going to see any sort of decrease in demand for real estate as FOMO begins to set in for a lot of first-time homebuyers who want to get in at the right price and at the lowest price point possible. And a good example of fear of missing out in any market is thinking back to what happened with GameStop. People were throwing in their money in the hopes they were getting in at a good point to see a good return. So in conclusion, will we see a crash happen in 2021? I don't believe so. Will we see a correction in pricing within this next decade? I personally think we're going to see a correction, but not a crash like what happened in 2008. With that being said, that does conclude this video. Make sure you are subscribed, turn on those post notifications, and stay tuned for more videos, guys. Until next time.